You better hold on tight, spider monkey. As if you could outrun me!
It's more than some crush, Bella.
How? I don't even know what you're saying. How?
Well, then I hope you enjoy disappointment.
Shit together because we're in this bitch now.
That's literally what I was just thinking. Let's eat.
You ready to go?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
all right.
Yes. We're in here.
We in here. So, welcome to the first episode of My Twilight Fantasy.
Shaking it up.
Your podcast for all things Twilight. Love and hate.
Love and hate.
Primarily hate.
So today we're going to be discussing the preface in the first chapter, mostly the first chapter of the book, and comparing it to the movie a little bit.
Yeah.
But before we do that, maybe we should introduce ourselves.
Why don't you go ahead?
I'm Maya.
I'm Tyree.
And I'm Anna. Do you guys want to share anything else about yourselves?
I currently work at a...
Don't say where we work.
Don't we
do
all
that.
work together. That's
That's
the
all
only
you need to
important
know.
thing.
Yeah.
Anna's our boss. I think that'll be pretty clear throughout the podcast.
I'll try to not.
Well, she's the ringleader of the shit show.
Yeah, she clearly hates us. You'll see that too.
All right, calm down. But yeah, this is us. And I mean, you're what, 20?
Mm-hmm.
I'm also 20.
And I'm 24, so this is really sad. But you might be asking yourselves why a couple of girls in their 20s are talking about Twilight.
It came out when I was like
But you know
12.
what? I think it's just time that we all admit everyone has a healthy appreciation for Twilight. In the entire saga.
And it really seems like it's making a comeback.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's just getting back into their old days, trying to like relive the old things that they used to do, and now it's just like
Twilight is back.
Twilight
It
is
fell
back.
off for a minute, but it's
I
back.
actually have like a real theory about this. So Twilight is just like, because it was such a long series and it was like our entire young adulthood. So like, I think Twilight, the books came out when I was like 11, and I went to the final movie premiere when I was like 19 or something. And like, now that we're all sort of adults and adulthood sucks shit, we're trying to like revert back to the good times.
Yeah, I totally see that.
And I
Reminisce.
think Twilight is like a
One
huge
of
part of
those.
that.
yeah. But looking back on it now, everything has changed. Literally everything.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
not as dreamy as I really wanted it to be.
Yeah, because when I first read the books, I mean, this was like, I want this kind of relationship and I want
Right.
this love, and now it's like, this is problematic.
Right.
They're both very toxic people.
Definitely.
But we can get into all that later, but that's kind of why we started this, just as a healthy outlet for our unhealthy obsession.
Right, because we started to talk about it at work a lot somehow, and I think some of our coworkers were getting a little frustrated with that. So, it started with us making our own group chats to specifically talk. Well, it actually started with us joking about Twilight a lot, and then we kind of, tried to keep the conversation away from others, and then we just thought, well, why not record the conversations and give them to the world?
Yeah, because I think our conversations about Twilight actually drove one of our former coworkers away.
It's very possible.
It's totally possible.
He was like, "This is too much for me. I can't handle this," and he moved to Utah. So
Oh yeah, we should probably mention we are not in Washington where all this takes place. We are in Columbus, Ohio.
okay.
Another okay.
All right.
All right, moving on. So, yeah, basically, I think the whole setup, we're still figuring everything out as we go, is we're gonna read the books over and over again, but I think every episode we're just gonna go into each chapter and then kind of compare it to the movies and just our thoughts on everything. So we're gonna talk about the preface, which, Maya, do you just want to read that to start us out?
I guess.
Oh,
If I must.
I mean, you don't have to.
I wish there was some dialogue in here, but it's all right. I think the dialogue with Tyree will be really spectacular.
Yeah.
I never given much thought to how I would die, though I've had reason enough in the last few months.
Keep it together.
It's so dramatic.
I know.
But even if I had, I would not have imagined it like this. I started without breathing across the long room. Oh, I stared without breathing across the long room into the dark eyes of the hunter, and he looked pleasantly back at me. Surely it was a good way to die, but in the place of someone else. Oh my god. Let's edit this out. We should start over.
No.
This section. Let me get a cohesive reading of it.
It's poorly written. I mean...
It is. It is pretty poorly written. And I think the whole metaphor is pretty cringy.
It's really bad.
I just think you just can't speak basic, and that's what all that is.
Like, I also just don't understand why she keeps referring to him as friendly and pleasant.
Yeah.
He's killing you.
Right.
Dumb bitch.
Yeah, I mean, that gets back to a lot of the problematic things at the core of Twilight, but...
Yeah. But go ahead.
Anyway. I'd never given much thought to how I would die, though I'd had reason enough in the last few months. But even if I had, I would not have imagined it like this. I stared without breathing across the long room into the dark eyes of the hunter, and he looked pleasantly back at me. Surely it was a good way to die, in the place of someone else, someone I loved, noble even. That ought to count for something. I knew that if I'd never gone to Forks, I wouldn't be facing death now, but, terrified as I was, I couldn't bring myself to regret that decision. When life offers you a dream so far beyond any of your expectations, it's not reasonable to grieve when it comes to an end. The hunter smiled in a friendly way as he sauntered forward to kill me. Alright, let's break that down.
Let's get started, shall we?
You know, right before we started recording, I thought there wouldn't be much to discuss there, but my opinion has changed.
Alright, Maya, please tell us your thoughts.
So, obviously, this is the iconic opening scene to the first film, the Twilight series, and it literally shows a deer. The hunter is never shown, but it's like a deer running through a green forest. But this is like a really terrible metaphor for Bella. Comparing women to deer at all is a little problematic.
Also, comparing Bella to just like this innocent deer, it's like, bitch, you got yourself rolled up in vampires.
Right.
You're not just minding your business, grazing on grass, and a fucking vampire rolls up to kill your ass. Like,
right.
Vampire doesn't want to kill her.
And why? She's just so wrong. Her evaluation of situations is so unreasonable. She's not dying in the place of someone she loves. She got scammed.
Bamboozled, hoodwinked.
Bamboozled.
yeah, he never wanted to kill Edward.
No.
Ever, not once.
I think, we'll get to this when we get to the end of the book. I haven't read it in quite a few years, but I think what it was is the bad vampire tricked Bella into thinking that he had her mom.
Yeah.
And the only way to get her back would be to, like, trade her life for her mom's. Which is really poorly set up throughout the book, but that's a different topic. But still, I mean, nothing is noble about this.
Not at all.
No. Bella thinks, like, and we'll get more into this. I think Bella thinks very, not highly of herself, but everything inconveniences her. Mm-hmm. And so, like, when she's put into inconvenient spots, she's like, I don't know if this relates or not, but, like, she feels like she's heroic, or if that makes any sense. It
does.
And she, like, literally everyone just has to come to her rescue 24/7.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm gonna do this for you. Yeah, we can kill you. And she's like, oh, and there's, like, I don't know, Edward just comes out with a cut every time and saves her. She's just...
But...
And, like, when they compare her to the deal, she's a molehill at best.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah, especially, I mean... We can discuss this more later as we get into I feel like the main difference between the movies and the books is that we get so much more of Bella's, like, interior monologue and, like, what she's thinking about, who she is, really.
For sure.
And at times that's nice, but other times it's like, I really don't like this girl.
Yeah.
She just drones on.
She does. She
describes everything in every room.
So, those are the thoughts we have on just the preface. Yeah. Strap on tight, guys. Because we are going in. So, let's go ahead and dive into Chapter 1 then. Chapter 1 of the books is... Honestly, the chapters are a lot longer than I remember them being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know? They cover a lot of ground. Sometimes they jump all over the place, I think. But, kind of a lot happened. She, left her home in Phoenix, Arizona. This is Bella, the main character. Left her home
cactus.
With her cactus. left her mom and her stepdad. I don't know if she ever refers to him as that, but whatever.
Yeah, Phil.
To move in with her real dad, Charlie, right? Yeah. I can't believe I almost forgot that. But he lives in Forks, Washington, and she has a lot of thoughts on that. So it's just kind of her transition there and her first day at the new school. But before we really go in on everything in chapter 1, I did a little research on Forks, Washington. And I was very entertained, so I just have to show you guys. So I just Googled it, and house listings and visitor stuff popped up. But there's a website called forkswa.com, and it's Discover Forks, Washington. And it looks somewhat official, but after reading some of the stuff on here, there's no way anyone from the city approved it. Mm-hmm. There's no way. So, they have everything about, general information about Forks and stuff like that, but they have a whole tab called Twilight. So, if you go into it, it's also under their must-see places. But if you go into the Twilight tab, it just starts talking about the books and this whole series and all this stuff. And at the bottom, it says, without mentioning the fans at all, it just says, bring your guy along because there's still plenty to do for him as well. Assuming all fans are just girls.
Right. So if you're a male fan out there, send us an email.
Yeah, write us at mytwilightfantasypodcast@gmail.com. Just to prove these bitches wrong.
Yeah.
But it says, bring your guy along. Click here for the guy list of fun things to do. So it's fishing, mudding, hiking, and then at the bottom it says, girls might like this too.
Ouch.
Hiking includes ripping roots out of trees.
Yeah.
So...
Don't get too far ahead of yourself there, Tyree.
That really, really, made me laugh, because I'm like, fucking your Chamber of Commerce did not approve this. So then I was looking more under the Twilight tabs and all this, and I found... Get ready for this.
I'm ready.
September 12th through September 15th of this year, they are holding a Twilight Festival.
We better go.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. They are having the festival in September, and it's a 3-day thing, and you can do stuff from cooking classes, so you can learn how to make Henry Clearwater's fish fry. Ooh. Or Bella's enchiladas.
Oh boy. Are those in chapter 1 or are they later? I don't think she cooks in this episode
Henry
yet.
Clearwater's thing is in another book, I think. But
yeah,
here's the... Oh, here, let me pull it up. So, yeah, you just go for 3 days, and you just interact with other fans. Yeah, like I said, there's cooking classes, there's craft and sip, so... You make Twilight-themed crafts while you drink.
Wow, I can't even picture that. What could that mean?
Macaroni art.
Oh, Kuya healing and drum circles. Also,
that doesn't feel culturally insensitive at all.
Also, there's going to be 3 stars from the Twilight series.
But they won't tell you which.
I have them right here. I want you guys... Don't look.
Okay.
I want you to guess.
Leah Clearwater.
No. You're in the right range, though. It's anybody's.
Right. Yeah,
Billy?
I figured it would be
Is it Billy Black?
No. I think Billy Black would be cool.
Is it Jessica?
If they got Anna Kendrick, that'd be honestly really impressive.
Jamie Campbell Bower.
Who is that?
One of the guys in the Volturi. He's one of the most irrelevant characters in the...
I know, but one of them is a guy in the Volturi.
Is it the one who goes finally?
Yes, it is. It's Marcus. So one of the Volturi, the guy who just is so happy to die in that fake battle scene in the last movie.
Mood.
So he will be there. Another is in the Wolf Pack.
Is it Seth?
Nope.
I don't know any of their names.
It's Paul.
Paul.
The one that Bella punches.
And then, like, never mind. We'll
Paul, get back. Yeah. And then,
It's Paul.
their special guest is Eric Odom.
Who is that?
I will give you $1,000 if you can tell me who his character is in Twilight.
Eric Odom. Eric Odom.
He plays one of the vampires that comes to the aid
Of course.
for the final battle, who is in the movie for 10 seconds.
Does that... Tell me how that qualifies
Wait,
as a star of Twilight.
Oh, can I see him? Is he
Yeah,
pulled
I
up?
can't really turn this, but...
I don't know who that is.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But he's the special guest.
Is he the one who's able to, like... Is he, like, the avatar of the vampires? Is that him? Because it sort of looks like him, but it's like...
No, he's the one that are like, they were just nomads, and we sent them this way.
So garbage.
Yep, essentially. So yeah, those are the 3 special guests. Also, you'll get to meet the impersonation clan. And if you'd like to see their photos, they're really entertaining.
What do you mean impersonation clan?
Yeah. What on earth does that mean?
So the city of Forks has its own Cullen clan
Yikes.
and other Twilight characters.
So they're like
I'm gonna take
Comic-Con
a picture.
people, but but it's Twilight form.
So right here, pictured, is our Edward and Bella, Jacob, and what I'm assuming is a very young Renesmee,
Oh no. Oh no.
and Alice and Jasper.
Yikes.
It's
how old are they?
Oh man.
it's really scary.
Um,
And then
The Renesmee looks like better than the one in the movie, but also yikes at her age.
she's so young. Also, they have their own full Tory. So, yeah, this is all stuff that you can check out at the Twilight Festival going on in September in Forks, Washington.
Maybe we
So-
can get there and
So
have
getting
a fan
there
meetup.
is pretty hard. It's a couple different flights, a couple different drives. But I think it'd be worth it.
a couple different yees, a couple different hours.
But I'm going to make you guys guess one more time. Guess how much a ticket is.
$300.
$325.
I was gonna say $219. I mean,
I was thinking like 40 when I read
this
this.
better not cost any more than $10.
I mean, for the, the A-list stars that are attending. Top dollar.
The Z-list star.
I mean, $325 to learn how to make a fictional character's enchiladas.
So we're not going?
I mean, we're going, but we might need some help from Patreoners.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah,
Hold your horses, Anna.
so we'll figure that out.
I still am not convinced that anybody's going to listen to this, but...
People are gonna listen. Have hope.
All right.
People secretly love Twilight. We've
I
just
mean,
decided to
I
embrace
didn't
it.
even
Yeah.
know that I loved Twilight
I know.
until you guys showed me the way.
Yeah.
You paved the way.
We're gonna
for
turn this into a cult.
Yeah.
People will see the light. Sparkling light.
me. Ew.
All right. Well, that's just all I wanted to share on Forks. If you want to check out that website, it's pretty hilarious because they also, like, instead of referencing to things by name, they call it stuff and things. So it's really entertaining.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and get into chapter 1 then? Yeah, I kind of gave a brief overview, but are there major details that you guys want to point out first? Or do you want to go kind of like in order?
Are we sticking with movie or are we sticking with actual chapter?
I think we should go by the chapter.
Yeah.
The first chapter pretty much covers the first about 12 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Which is quite a big section.
Yeah, it really is. And it's actually very, very close to the actual book, I think.
Yeah,
Within reason.
yeah, definitely, especially, given that it's a movie adaptation.
Yeah.
But the major thing is that I felt like the biggest difference was that she isn't supposed to meet Jacob that early.
Yeah.
And that at the scene in the book, I'm so sorry.
His cat is biting my feet right now.
I'm being attacked.
It's fine.
Yeah, the actual scene where she does meet Jacob in a few chapters is really significant, I think, and they just don't do it justice in the movie at all.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Because that really is the biggest difference. It's just, like, they throw Jacob in there, but I guess, like, for time's sake in the movie making, it makes sense for him to be in there, but I don't know. Anyway,
I would like to bring up the awkward relationships that she has with, like, both of her parents.
Right.
Okay, yeah. For sure.
She seems super uncomfortable all the time.
And so that's kind of like one of the main, things that you get from the first couple pages is how unhappy and uncomfortable she is. But what I felt like was missing was the explanation for why that is exactly.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really get cleared up, especially not in this chapter. But I have a theory that there are a couple of things that are alluded to in this chapter that are also, like, drilled into you later. Like how she has trouble sleeping. How she isn't like other girls. How she acts older / maybe more mature, I guess, than other people her age. She has trouble relating to people who are her age. She has trouble relating to people in general. And my theory is that although those things are, like, half developed within Bella, they're all really just reasons to give you that she's like Edward. You know what I mean? And so when they actually have interactions, they're a lot more meaningful in the book than in the movie, I felt like.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still very strange, but... And Edward just has a way of throwing out non sequiturs in conversation.
Definitely.
But it's... In the movie, you're left wondering, like, what the hell do these two people have in common? Why do they like each other at all? But in the book, they give you something to grasp on.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I noticed, because, like, on the second page, she talks a little bit about her mother and who she is, and kind of one of the reasons Bella is the way she is because her mother's kind of this erratic, not in a bad way, but just kind of all over the place, is kind of a free thinker, and it seems that Bella had to do a lot of growing up on her own and kind of ran their household. That's just kind of what she alludes to, like, it actually being like, but I think that's one of the reasons that she's just, like, miserable to be in high school in general, and having to go to Forks. It's a place where everybody knows everybody, and that's just, like, her ultimate nightmare.
I wish that was a little bit more fleshed out.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's one of the things. It's like in the first line of the movie, I know we talk about the movie later, but she talks about, I'm moving to Forks to spend time with my dad. I think it'll be good. Like, she says that in the movie, but in the first chapter, she's just like, I'm gonna be miserable. Straight up, nothing's gonna change my mind. Like, Forks is gonna be horrible. I'm not looking forward to it.
She talks about, she says Charlie's gonna be confused by her decision. She talks about crying a lot in this chapter, and also you don't in this chapter get at all why she's chosen to do this. You don't even learn that until
later on.
Later.
Yeah, when she, like, first talks to Edward about it. Yeah, that's weird. Also, on the first page, did either of you pick up on how she says she's wearing her favorite shirt, and it's a white eyelet lace shirt? And this bitch is wearing a bowling shirt in the movies. Are you kidding me?
When you throw a really piece of, like, something very clear like that, which you don't often get in a book like this, you're not really spending a lot of time on what the characters are wearing, per se, most of the time. Maybe just do it in the movie for the fans, you know? Maybe just do it.
Well, like, it's not even something that I paid attention to when, like, I first read the book. I kind of went back and reread this, and then I looked, I was like, that's not what she wears. That's not who Bella is. She doesn't wear white lace. Like, she wears thrift store clothes.
Right. And that, you know, that seems like a small detail to be, like, nitpicking so hard, but it isn't, because these tiny details build a very different character in the book versus who Bella is on screen. I definitely, I feel like as I've been reading through other chapters of the book too, that distinct difference is becoming more and more pronounced.
Another thing too is, like, I think Stephanie Meyer really built Bella's character around someone who would live in Forks. I at no point can picture her, like, in Phoenix. Like, her
Even down
life...
to her skin tone.
Yeah. Even down to that, because, I mean, she doesn't have any hobbies that are... And I know she, like, addresses it, like, I should be doing all this, but it's like, you don't. But you love Phoenix so much. But you basically, in principle, are against everything about being active and outdoors, and I just think she didn't really think that far. Like, she just wrote, like, Forks Bella.
Right.
You know?
It's like she had no attachment to Phoenix, to Miss Phoenix.
But always talks about missing Phoenix. Yeah, you know? I don't
Yeah,
get
that
it.
is... Okay, so we can talk about, like, how this is not the best written book ever.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously.
that's just another example of that.
But it's kind of like 50 Shades. People are still going to love it. You know? And I still love
Victory
it.
Lap.
Like, I had to stop myself from reading, like, way too far earlier.
Yeah.
You know?
I didn't save... I couldn't stop myself.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But, oh, also, going along, like, her parents' relationship, she talks about her, like, summers spent with Charlie and stuff, and describes some of the things that they did together. Something as small as, like, fishing, as painful and unnecessary.
Right.
Why? Why is that so? Spending time with your dad is just... Because it's not like her parents broke up out of some, like, huge... He
Trauma,
cheated
yeah.
or something like that. Like, her mom just left him when she was a baby. So why
Right.
would Bella have any animosity towards her father? But
And
so
that's it gets back to what I was saying earlier about this, like, deep unhappiness not being explained.
yeah.
And, I mean, there's, as far as I can see, not to be insensitive, but no reason for this character to be so unhappy all the time. At all.
Yeah.
Oh, but like touching back to her going to see her dad every summer, when they communicate in the book and in the movie, it's like they act like they haven't seen each other in years. Like the last time he saw her, she was like 10, and then now she's like 17 years old, and like he's just like, "Oh, your hair changed."
I cut it since last time I saw you. Like the most awkward interaction
Yeah,
ever.
I mean, the dialogue is really piss poor in the movie, but
Yeah.
it's not a whole lot better in the book either.
No, it's not. But you still get the message, like, this is a weird relationship.
Yeah,
Got it.
definitely.
So
Check.
I think you still get the, like, same
Vibes.
vibes.
But also, I want to give Charlie more credit. Also, her whole, like, thing about calling him Charlie.
Yeah.
Why? Like,
That's never explained.
no, and it's, I mean, I guess I get it if you're kind of, like, feel really distant, like, emotionally and physically from your father. I do get that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like he wronged her somehow, or, like,
Yeah.
she has something against him.
Yeah, so she started calling him by his first name.
Yeah.
And the number of times she slips up and, like, starts to say
Yeah.
Charlie, but then switches to dad is, like, very cringy. That-
And also, like, it sounds like her mother and father, Renee and Charlie, like, have an okay relationship now, but Bella's still just as unhappy.
yeah.
Like, in the movies, they're portrayed as just, like, goofing around, like, old times, whatever, and Bella's just being Bella.
Right.
I don't get it. I don't
Basic
get
person
it.
on demand.
Well, I don't know, the rest of the chapter, I feel like there was a lot of filler. Just with, like, but, I mean, you know, setting the scene and all of that stuff.
And also, it doesn't really feel that important, even in the book. I mean, obviously not in the movie, exactly the names of the characters who are interested in her at school and
Mike.
what they do and their inner workings, and she's not that interested in them anyway, but a lot of this chapter is also setting up who those people are.
Yeah. Like, kind of the key players, her friends are going to be Jessica and Angela.
And
then all the
everyone else
guys.
is going to have a crush on her.
Because why?
Right. Yeah, I think she talks about that a little bit, maybe not in this.
Can I just go out and just put it out there? Like, our biggest grievance with this entire series is why the hell is everyone so up Bella's ass?
She is
Right.
the most basic person on this earth. She is so problematic. She is so toxic. And everyone's just like, yep, that's
We
it.
want in.
That's what I want.
You only know that she's toxic and problematic after you've met her, but to begin with, my biggest issue is what makes this person so special.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
She comes in with like a bowling alley shirt, and they're just like, that. You.
And that, that's a site where this also could have been fleshed out more. Like, later we're going to learn that Bella is a shield. Edward thinks she's special and interesting and frustrating because he can't read her mind. And that's problematic in itself. That he's only interested in this person because he can't already read her mind.
Yeah.
But why? What about her? And that's like an opportunity that Stephanie Meyer could have taken to like write something about Bella to make her special.
Right.
Something, anything, literally.
Like, they could have said something like a spin-off of like the parents, like one of them actually like either crossed a vampire or they got aid from somebody else, and that's why she has a shield because it was born into her from one of them. Or, like, they could have
anything like that could have, and then that really could have been a spot for more storytelling and more interest and more like you could generate more of this like fantastic, interesting feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
like,
instead they went to describe the trees in rooms.
Or she could have even gone the easy route and just given Bella any sort of layer of charm.
Right.
But she has none.
Is that... So now I'm thinking... Because sometimes Bella says things that are, like, almost relatable. I should have made a point of it. There was one thing that she said that sometimes I read it and I'm like, okay, that reminds me of me as a teenager. Well, whatever. Maybe all of this cringy, sad, awkward angst is supposed to be relatable, but even at the time that I was reading this, I feel like that really wouldn't have struck any kind of chord with me.
No. Because even when I read this as a teenager, at no point was I like, I want to be Bella.
Right.
Because even then I knew, like, something's wrong with her. Like, she shouldn't be this dissatisfied with just everything.
Yeah.
You know?
And people who haven't ever read the book but have seen the movies, like, I've heard them often say, like, why doesn't Bella portray any emotion? And then the actress that played her, whose name is escaping me right now.
Kristen Stewart.
Kristen Stewart, obviously. She got so much shit for her, portrayal of this character, but she's written as a blank slate, basically.
Yeah.
So.
A wet rag.
A wet blanket, a wet rag, yeah.
Well, and I even marked down, like, a line. Oh, you guys could do some dialogue.
Excellent.
Because I wrote this down because I read it in Kristen Stewart's portrayal of Bella. Mm-hmm. But I think even without that image, it still reads the same. It's Bella trying to be funny, but nobody understands it because, like, at her core, she's not a humorous person. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Like when
so it's just trying to throw something out there, and it doesn't work. So why don't we have you read this?
What page?
Ladies, turn to page 16. It's going to be down at the bottom, and it's an interaction between her and Eric. And who wants to be Eric?
I mean, I can be Eric.
Okay.
Or do you? Oh, wait, because
Bella's
because if I'm Bella, I'm gonna be very sarcastic. Right. So.
Yeah, I think Maya's always Bella.
Yeah, because I'm also a sad bitch.
Wait, I'm trying to find it in my Apple book, but it's just not labeled by
Here,
page
we can
number.
look at mine.
So you're gonna start with Eric's line. So this is a lot different than Phoenix.
So this is a lot different than Phoenix, huh?
Very.
It doesn't rain that much there, does it?
3 or 4 times a year.
Wow. What must that be like?
Sunny.
You don't look very tan.
My mother is part albino.
And cut. My mother is part albino, and I just heard it in fucking her voice like, well, my mother's part albino. And then her not understanding why they don't understand that it's a joke.
Yeah. Well, what really gets me is that's followed by more of her internal monologue where she says, a few months of this and I'd forget how to use sarcasm. Like,
yeah.
Girl, relax. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, she acts like she's literally entering the gates of hell and all hope is lost at this point. I fly. So, I think that's a pretty good summary of the first chapter. I mean, oh my god, wait, no it's not. We didn't even talk about Edward.
Important.
Well,
the chapter is called, what is it called? First Sight.
Who are they?
Oh. Well, just a heads up, we only have 10 minutes left.
For Chizzy?
Alright, well we better...
For Chizzy. So, basically, she gets her first view of the Cullen clan, and,
yes.
Another thing that Maya, that you pointed out before I even started rereading it, is in the movie they never address Jasper and Rosalie having a different last name.
Right.
Hale.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be like twins that they adopted separately.
Right. That seems like a messy lie, though. I guess I kind of understand why they cleaned that up for the films.
Yeah. I mean, it's all a messy lie. They all look like adults.
Right.
Dating each other
Yeah, and that
in the
makes
same
kind of
household.
Kind of a larger question for me of, like, why do they bother with this? They've been to high school so many times over and over. Why do they even bother with the charade anymore? They could just not go to high school. They could just pass as adults.
Yeah. Well, it's like Edward says in the younger they start in a place, the longer they can stay there. Which I understand that, but also, you could start at 18.
Right.
Like, I mean, I know a lot of 18-year-olds that look 4.
Right.
So, I mean,
we look 12, so.
you are 12.
I'm 11, so shut the...
But yeah, so she gets to see the Cullens for the first time.
Yeah.
I think something in the movie that really entertains me is when she first sees them and asks who they are, and Jessica's, like, describing them, and knowing, like, their vampires and their abilities now, knowing that they can hear that whole conversation
Cringe.
is really entertaining to me.
Yeah.
Because especially when they're talking about how weird Alice is and
Right.
how Jasper looks like he's in pain all the time.
Yeah.
And Alice is just like, just forget it. Like, whatever. I kind of love that.
Yeah. Super hearing is just kind of a goofy gimmick a little bit.
Yeah, what are they, dogs?
No, they're decidedly not dogs.
True.
No, they're Monkey Man, remember?
Ew,
Yikes.
ew, I can't.
But her, also, I don't feel like any of the main characters, any of the vampires or Bella really live up to the standard the book sets, but how could they?
Yeah.
Because the descriptions of the Cullens is really over the top and, like, kind of makes me think of other, like, vampire and, like, supernatural novels I would have read at this time.
One thing that really stood out to me in their description in the books is they really described Edward as being boyish. And I did not get that vibe at all.
No.
I mean, granted, Robert Pattinson was like, what, a 22-year-old guy, like, playing a
He
high
looked older
schooler?
than that.
But, I mean, definitely not boyish.
Not at all. Nothing is... Later we'll see that Edward is kind of... He has a little bit of a sense of humor. That's just sucked all the way out.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I just read a chapter earlier where he and Bella are, like,
Bantering.
flirting.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's like, why was that taken out of the movie and then replaced with just basically berating her with, you don't know what I am?
Right.
And her making ridiculous guesses. Like,
I
I don't
have so much
understand
to say
that.
about that section of the book, but
Yeah.
I really, really want to talk about the scene in biology class
Yeah, okay, yeah.
and how that differs from the movie and
Yeah.
the ways that it's exactly the same as well, basically, for all intents and purposes. So the most iconic scene from the first movie is Edward's absolute revulsion and disgust at the first sight of Bella when she walks in front of a fan into the biology classroom that they have
First
together.
smell of Bella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First smell of Bella. And he's, they play up in this book how attractive her smell is for whatever reason, also not explained. But in the movie, he just looks like he's going to throw up.
So scary. I mean, and when they're just sitting there and he's staring all through class, like when it was described
Call
in
the
the book,
police.
yeah, when it was described in the book, I was just like, I didn't really think about it. But when he portrays it in the movie, I'm like, how did not everyone else notice this behavior?
Right.
And be like, what the fuck? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
He looks like he's gonna murder her. I don't understand how no one stepped in to intervene.
Insert SpongeBob smelly breath meme.
Right.
Yeah. I thought that was a very, very weird.
It was just a weird decision with the movie. Because
Yeah.
it's, I mean, for a book that's about vampires and werewolves, this is a pretty gentle way to introduce that, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not the lunch scene, but in biology class, her first, like, one-on-one encounter with a vampire isn't as...
Complete and utter disgust.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more human, you know, than it could have been.
Yeah.
But they just
agreed.
take that out in the movie. Anyway.
Well, I think that's pretty much the end. Well, and then, you know, Edward tries to get out of biology, and Bella notices it, and
Is hurt.
in the movie, she's hurt, which, when you think about it, if you, like, heard someone trying to get out of something specifically because of you, damn.
Damn, that's crazy.
you might want to ask them. You might want to address that right then and there. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
Yeah, why didn't she address him for starters? Like when they were in the biology class, and he like has this like look on his face. I'm like, I would have said something to him rather than just like continuously letting him like glare at you.
Right.
Like turn around, like, are you okay? Is everything okay at home?
Do we have a problem?
Right. When I leave, you want to keep doing this.
Well, another thing, too, this is kind of unrelated, but she always describes in biology with Edward specifically using her hair as a curtain.
Right.
She never describes Bella past her skin color. Ever.
Well, you can figure out what her hair color is by process of elimination.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly where that is, but she talks about, like, she's really pale without having the excuse of blonde hair and red hair, I think.
Yeah.
At some point.
Again, but
still,
like
you
she
might
says
wanna...
what she doesn't have, and then only mentions her really pale skin.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, but what does Bella look like?
Right. Yeah, and there is one, like, short paragraph where she's looking at herself in a mirror, I think, where I'm really not a fan of coming out and describing the physical appearance of the characters. That feels very much like fan fiction to me.
Yeah.
Even the small amount that is done here.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. It's just so, like, wedged in.
Yeah, I feel like
and
it's
incomplete, even.
It's either like go full fledged or just like not at all. Like
Yeah. Yep. But, and again, I wonder if that was a deliberate choice to make it easier to project yourself onto Bella, but it's just, like, misguided, because who would want to be like that? Who wants to be this sad and misunderstood?
Yeah,
no
for
one
real.
wants to feel that way.
Agreed. Well, guys, we are down to our last 3 minutes. Do you have any final thoughts on the first chapter? Tyree?
I don't know. I'm trying to like gather what I want to say outside of like garbage.
We have 15 seconds, so.
Oh,
No.
we're on a time crunch right here.
Yeah.
No, there's not much that I want to say besides Bella is sort of your basic waste of space, and
You really dislike her that much after reading the first chapter?
yeah. It's just it's like because we're going off of the movie and the chapter. It's just like I don't like her. She's just I don't like how people's reactions to her, and I don't like how they're like portraying her as hot stuff when she's really like nothing of the sort.
Yeah, for next week, I want us all to, like, reflect on that and really think about exactly what it is that makes her so off-putting, because I'm really having trouble putting my finger on exactly what it is that makes me dislike her so much.
Okay.
But I really do.
Our homework. Why we hate Bella's ass.
The document.
Something clawing to get in.
No, it's just my
Oh
cat
my
again.
god.
Sorry if you can hear that.
All right, well, why don't we go ahead and wrap this up? I don't think we'll have time to share some memes today, but next time. But for now, thank you to anyone who does listen to this.
Yeah.
Because you a real one.
You lit.
Definitely read along with us.
Yeah.
Go to your local library. Get this book out of storage. Check out a half-price books before they're all sold out.
Yeah. Twilight
read along.
by Stephanie Meyer.
Tell us what jewelry's
You will not regret it. Also, if you have a Hulu subscription, all the movies are free on there. So check them out.
Get in there.
And check us out on our social media. Tyree. Oh, okay.
On Instagram, we are My Twilight Fantasy Podcast. And also on Twitter, we are My Twilight Fantasy Podcast. So,
And if you have any thoughts on kind of our opinions about today's episode, or any thoughts or things that you'd like us to talk about in the future, mind you, every episode will go by chapter. So next week will be chapter 2. Yeah, give us a shout out. Our email is mytwilightfantasypodcast@gmail.com. And
Share us with your friends.
yeah, share us with everybody. But I think that's all for now. This is pretty solid, guys. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, Mom.
You guys sucked, but that's the most I could expect. I'm proud of you guys.
All right, well, until next time.
Bye.
Ciao.